Good evening. Welcome to the Mental Health and Suicide Awareness Workshop hosted by the Randolph County Chamber of Commerce. At this time, I'm going to ask Pastor Josh if he will have an opening prayer for us, please.
Yes, as the pastor of the church, I'm glad that we're offering this and we're a part of this great opportunity. And so we want to welcome you to the church, and we're glad that you're here. If you need restrooms, they're right over here in the hallway. And if you need help other than that, just holler and somebody will be glad to help you. Let's pray. God, we give you thanks for today, and we thank you for people who are invested and who have invested their life into mental health and to helping the community to be its best self. And so we ask you to be with us as we have this meeting tonight and as we learn how to be the best resources we can be for those who need help in our community, and that very well may be us. And so we pray we pray for your Spirit to be with us tonight and your blessing on this time. Amen.
Our goal tonight is to present to our community more information on mental health and suicide awareness. And of course, the Chamber events are not possible without our annual sponsors to contribute to the financial help that they provide for us for the event. Our sponsors tonight, and you can see on the sheets that I've given you and behind me here, our Millennium sponsors: Chris Baldwin Law, Conley Jordan and Associates, First Bank, Mohawk, Lakewood Alley Construction, TEC, and WM Grocery. Our platinum sponsors: Alabama Power, Randolph County Economic Development Authority, Roanoke Rehabilitation and Health Care, Tanner Health System, East Alabama Health, Randolph County, Regional Medical Center, and Trailer Health and Rehab. Our gold sponsors: ML Aubrey, Southern Union, Fiberglass Unlimited, Roanoke Rotary Club, United Way of East Central Alabama, Wedowee Marine, Randolph County Sheriff Cofield and Chief Deputy Donnie Grant, State Farm, Randolph County Republican Party, Senator Randy Price, H&R Block, the Randolph Leader, Riverside Timber, Superior Gas, Steel Fab, and the Office of Keisa M. Johnston. And our silver sponsors tonight are Alabama Georgia Roll-Offs, iCare Alabama, Jerry and Patsy Cottney, Southern Grown Turf, Southeast Off Wash, Russell Dewitt Center, Reliance Realty, and District Judge Amy Newsom. We're so blessed to have the people that sponsor our events, because without them, we could not have the events. We're fortunate in Randolph County to have Tanner Health System. Willowbrook at Tanner is located just across the Georgia line in Villa Rica. Willowbrook provides inpatient and outpatient behavioral health service for children, adolescents, and adults. Our speaker tonight is Deborah Price. Ms. Price is a licensed professional counselor and certified provider of credentialing specialists. She is currently a program manager at Willowbrook at Tanner and is the acting program manager for Villa Rica Partial Hospitalization Program. She received her bachelor's degree from West Virginia University, where she was an NCAA student athlete. She received her master's in sports and exercise psychology at Argosy University and has worked in the field of mental health for 23 plus years. Deborah currently manages a team of 20 therapists, is a certified instructor for youth mental health first aid, and is a certified professional counselor supervisor. She provides education to the community regarding mental health and its impact on the young and old. Deb is originally from Maryland and is currently living in West Georgia with her husband and 3 children. The children are Division I and Division II collegiate student athletes, and she has a 12-year-old who is a state champ swimmer. Deborah Price.
I might be a tinge proud of my kids, so I'm sorry I had to slide that in real quick. Okay, so you guys, we're going to talk about a lot tonight. We only have an hour, so we're going to talk about what we hope are some of the hot topics, some of the things that hopefully you are either seeing in your day-to-day or you will. It's really just a matter of time in terms of what you'll run into and what you'll experience. So I know that we have a ton of people joining us through Facebook and through sort of live stream. So I want to make sure that you participate with us as well. So anytime I ask a question or anytime I kind of ask for participation, I want you to also participate with us as well as the people in house with us too, okay? All right, so this is a lot of backing. This is a lot of support with regards to just your community saying, look, this topic is critical. It's no longer an option to just dismiss it and just pretend like it doesn't exist. And I was talking to a couple of people before we started tonight. COVID had a way of kind of churning a lot of stuff and kind of stirring up a lot of things that existed already. But now we're in a place where we've got to talk about it. So I appreciate the church, I appreciate the community and just the Chamber of Commerce and all the people that went into tonight to making sure that we have a dialogue about it, okay? All right, so I'm hoping you're not too comfortable because I'm going to ask a couple questions and I'm going to ask you to get up and get down, okay? All right, if you have personally or professionally interfaced with someone with a mental health diagnosis, can you stand up? So maybe it was someone in your family, maybe it was you personally, maybe it was someone in the community, someone directly related or connected to you who was dealing with a mental health diagnosis. Okay, so if you can't see it online, and I'm hoping you're standing up at home or wherever you're listening to this, literally all but 2 people stood up in here, right? Okay, so we know that it's here. We know that it's active. We know that it's around us. But why don't we talk about it? So, okay, you guys can have a seat real quick. Why don't we talk about it? And this is not a rhetorical question I'm asking in this room. Why don't we talk about it? Stigma. Why else? I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. Any other reasons that you think people don't ask? Cultural considerations, absolutely. Just not a ton of info. Okay, what's true, what's just made up? I'm embarrassed. What if I actually admit that I can't figure this out by myself? So there's a myriad of reasons, and you guys just hit the nail on the head with a lot of the biggies. But we're going to talk about some of this stuff tonight in a way that hopefully will put some language to your conversation and put some word choice to how you have discussion with people and yourself, if we're honest, in terms of how to go about addressing this, just like we would any other medical condition, okay? All right, so, okay. This is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about some myths, and I'm going to ask you to really be honest with yourselves. Is it a myth or a fact? But I really want you to answer genuinely, do I think that? Do I believe either direction in terms of a myth or a fact? We're going to talk about the prevalence of mental health. We already saw it just in this one room. You really don't exist on this planet and you haven't had some interface or some connection with mental health needs. We're going to also talk about what are some key symptoms and some key presentation to look for and watch for so that, if I see 2 or 3 of these things, that may be a sign or an indication that I need to connect that person to someone who can do something about it. And then the other thing we're going to talk about is just, what do I do? If I know someone or if I see the things that are important to look out for, then what? And that's really the disconnect and oftentimes sort of the stopgap when it comes to getting people the help and support that they need. I might know it, I might even see it plain as day, but did I speak up and did I connect it with somebody who can do something about it? Okay, all right. All right, myth or fact, okay? Is having a psychiatric disorder a true medical illness like a diabetes or a heart disease? Stand up if that is a fact. I want you to be honest. Is somebody with congestive heart failure just as significant as someone with a mental health diagnosis? And I love it for those of you guys that are being genuine and honest. Okay, all right, have a seat. So it's a disease of your brain. It's a disease of an organ in your system. So just like your heart, just like your liver, just like your pancreas, so also your brain. And so when we see people with mental health disease and mental health diagnosis, it is a off or a imbalance or something that is different about their brain. Now, you guys, we have a lot to learn about our brain, right? I mean, we're just scratching the surface in the medical field. But what we do know is that it's one of the most complex systems in our body, right? Why do we walk around thinking that that's the one component of our bodies that should never fail and should always be fully 100% operational, exactly like it was intended? It doesn't even make any sense why we have that approach oftentimes. And so I want us to take a different look tonight in terms of if I'm looking at someone with a mental health need or a mental health diagnosis, I really do need to kind of shift my mindset with regards to it is a dysfunction or sometimes an impairment or a lack of something in their organ, in their body. And that literally is as simple as it is, all right? Oh, okay, that's okay. People with mental illness can oftentimes fake their symptoms, and they make it up. Myth or fact? If it is a myth, stand up. Is it a myth that people with mental illness fake their symptoms a lot of the time? Okay, so sometimes people claim that they're insane to escape consequence. Okay, yeah. Listen, that probably does happen, right? But we're not dismissing that at all. But the fact of that is that oftentimes people with mental health needs and mental health diagnosis, they're not faking. It is a pattern or a habit or an impairment that they've learned or that they were born with, and that is how they function. That's how they function with their day-to-day. So having depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, all these biggie diagnoses has nothing to do with them being irresponsible or lazy. We might have went some too far. One more forward. There we go. Okay, that's okay. So what we're saying is that mental illness is like heart disease, diabetes, being legitimate disorders, okay? Now, someone with congestive heart failure, are they on a continuum? Some have to be strict with their diet, strict with their medicine, strict with their exercise. They can't fall off the wheel, so to speak, one day because their system is that dependent on their regimen and routine. So also are people with mental health. Some people can go weeks and miss their medicine or not take care of their bodies or do various things off the plan. And then others, one day off, and it really does make a difference and it really does have an impact. And so just like any other medical disease or any other medical component, we have to take a look at the treatment plan for the specific person. Okay. Okay. We might have already given this away, but people with mental illness fake symptoms oftentimes, and so we can just go to the fact sheet on that one. Okay, so what we're saying is just that those diagnoses have nothing to do with being irresponsible, lazy, weak. It's a change in their chemistry and a change in their organ and the function of that particular component, okay? People with mental illness are usually poor, homeless, or just not as smart as the rest of those that are not. Myth or fact? Okay, that's kind of an easy one, okay? Because most mentally ill people have an average or even above average IQ. Has nothing to do with their intellect or their educational, literacy level or anything like that. It has incredible social consequences which oftentimes impact their ability to function with others. And so that's where the misperception comes from. So I may struggle to socially interact with you, and I may even avoid you because I struggle to be around other people, but that doesn't mean that I'm less smart or less capable than my counterpart. It just means that I have other things in my way that are preventing me from being as easygoing. And we were talking earlier, are you extrovert? Are you a number 2 on the Enneagram? Are you, all these other things that we all oftentimes give ourselves to kind of describe how we are. Well, someone with mental health, they oftentimes have way more layers to their needs, okay? Only a small percentage of the population need mental health services. Really justify going to a professional or justify going to an actual facility or a place that treats patients. Myth or fact? Myth? Okay. All right, so almost half of all U.S., and this room actually disproves that, right? We even could even say, according to this room, maybe even like 95%, really. But over half of our population between the ages of 15 and 84, that's a big span, right, have a history of at least one mental health or addictive behavior that rose to the need or rose to the ability to justify professional intervention. Okay, so when I ask you guys, do any of you go to the dentist? You've been more than once? Why? Huh? To prevent, to maintain, to take care of what you've been given. Because you only get one. You only get one set. Well, for most of us anyway, right? Some of us get lucky enough to get more than one set. But the idea is that we do things in our day-to-day to prevent and to maintain and to sustain health all the time. And we don't even think about it. Our insurance company even lets us go for free every 6 months for some of us, right? Because it's that expected and that healthy of a, not everybody. But it's this idea that if I ask for professional help, or if I go and ask someone that is their skill or that is their ability to help with that, why do we continue to think of it as weakness? Or I'm less than capable of handling my own stuff. That's what we're trying to make the shift in. That's the mindset in which we're trying to adjust our approach so that we can begin to think of mental health in a totally different way. Because if it's impacting half of our community across the globe, this is not just U.S., across the globe, half of our community, we'd be having, Bono concerts to raise money, right? We'd be doing all kinds of fundraisers to help with this if this were any other ailment or any other medical disease, if it impacted half of our community. But still to this day, 2022, we're still meeting in church gyms, and we're still providing presentations and things to bring awareness about this because it's that critical of a conversation. Okay. So everything that we do tonight, and again, I'm talking to the people online as well as in this room, everything we talk about tonight, these are conversations that you can actually have with people in your day-to-day. So with your family, after you finish dinner, any group of people, play the game that we just played. Myth or fact, what do you think? True or false, what do you think? Start having the conversation just like it's, how's the weather? Did you watch that game on Saturday? It's that natural of a conversation. I don't know about you, but I have parents who, the only thing they talk about is the next pain that they've had, or the next appointment that they're going to go to, or the next thing. That's part of their life now. And that's part of their conversation. They would never think that that was off or a stigmatized discussion, nor should mental health be, okay? Okay. If I have a mental health issue, I should be able to take care of it myself. Myth or fact? Okay. However, we operate like that, right? I should be able to just figure it out, suck it up, do whatever's required to get myself back in shape. We have entire generations that pushed that mindset, right? You're strong, you can do this, figure it out, you got this, We push it on athletic fields every day. I don't know if you heard, but part of my past is working with athletes and coaches on performance, because we push performance in such a way that it's actually detrimental to a lot of athletes now. So we're working to try to push performance, but in a way that's healthy and that accesses the things that really, really increase our ability to maximize what we do, okay? All right, so what we know is that some problems are minor, and they can be handled through support and through family and through conversation. But we also know on that continuum there are some things that just require professional intervention. Would you give your children or your loved ones a root canal if you weren't a dentist? You wouldn't even think about it because it's not in your scope of understanding. But somewhere along the line, we all named ourselves professional counselors, and figured that we could intervene and help every person that needed it around us, rather than tapping the professionals and tapping the people that's their competence and their expertise, okay? I would never give you open heart surgery, but I know CPR. I know just enough to help you and intervene, but I would never go that far, right? So we can love and support and talk to and take care of our loved ones, but there's also a threshold. And so I know I'm looking at some professionals in here, and I'm looking at some people that are in the mental health field, but those that are listening tonight, parents, other people that aren't in the mental health field, what am I doing to connect the people that I love the most up to the professional that can help them, all right? That's our disconnect when it comes to suicide prevention and mental health intervention. The professional help is not connected to where the need is the greatest, and the people around them are just kind of doing the best they can and trying to figure it out, when I would never do surgery on you, even though I know CPR. I'm a really good first aider. I was even a lifeguard growing up, right? But that still doesn't give me the competence. And I need us to be thinking about that in that sense. But somewhere along the line, we all started thinking that we were professional counselors. Some of us, okay. All right, people with mental illness are violent and dangerous, and you should keep your family and those around away from them. I mean, have you been to Atlanta lately? I mean, would you just drop your kid off? I mean, I'm kind of being rhetorical, I'm kind of being silly with my question, but there's a lot of people. We built the Willowbrook facility in Villa Rica, Georgia about 15 years ago, and I can't tell you how many petitions there were to stop the construction, because you will not put such a facility in my neighborhood. My children will not live down the street from a place where people get mental health help. And the mayor and all the hoo-has, that we had to meet with and talk to, I mean, they eventually, obviously they built it, and obviously we're making a difference in that community, but the pushback was pretty significant. And there wasn't any, infringement on their yard. We weren't, trying to build in their personal space, but it was the idea that in that community something might be built, and that was a hard sell for a lot of people in that area. Okay, so these are just some facts for you guys, right? The majority that are violent actually aren't mentally ill. There are lots of other things. In cases where violence does occur, the incident typically results because they feel threatened, or there's excessive drug and alcohol use, and so they're not even acting within their own understanding, okay? And then oftentimes mental illness is not typically dangerous to others, but is more likely to self-harm versus others' harm, okay? And I think my Turner might have just taken a break for a second, so we're gonna hang out for just 1 second with regards to this. So I don't know if any of this is new to you. I don't know if any of this kind of makes you think differently about some of the maybe preconceived ideas or some of the big overarching concepts that you had about mental health, but I do just want to kind of challenge you guys. Mental illness is not a crime. It's not a sentence. It's not this incurable, once I get it, I can't get rid of it. It's not this disease that just kind of takes me to the grave. It's extremely curable, and what we do know, and this is information from Youth Mental Health First Aid, what we do know that those that ask for professional help, up to and over 90% of those that ask for help actually get better. So tell me any other medical ailment that they have a 90% improvement rate. I think cancer has like a 4%. Let's put that in comparison. But yet we are dumping billions into treatments like chemotherapy and all these other treatments for something that has a 4% survival rate. So when we talk about resources and talk about opportunities for people with mental illness, the likelihood of improvement, 90% if they go to a professional intervention. That's good odds, you guys. That's really good odds. And so for someone who's sitting on their couch maybe tonight or even in this room who's kind of, should I ask for help? Should I take the leap and tell someone that I'm thinking and feeling certain ways that I don't want to? If I do, I just want to kind of affirm and let you know that there is opportunity, and there is 90% opportunity for you to improve and get better. Okay, all right. Oh. All right, so the fact of the myth that we just saw up on the board, we're just suck it up. You'll be fine. You'll figure it out. Recovery happens when the person receives the needed treatment. Okay. I think we only have like one or two more of these. So addiction is a lifestyle. If you wanted it, you could get better. It's just a lack of your willpower and a lack of your try. Myth or fact? Okay. But if you're a family member of an addict, this one's a hard one to answer because I know you. And I knew what you were like before, and I know that deep down you really want to get better. Deep down, I know that if you were just you again, you would make different choices. I have a close friend who's dealing with a family member right now, and the statement just keeps coming out of her mouth. That's not even her. I can't even believe that she did that. I can't even believe that she would consider doing that in front of the people that she loves the most. And so, we have conversations. That's not your mom right now. Because, and we can kind of switch over. It's a disease, and it generally results in the change of your brain. Does any one of us in this room have a chance if the chemistry of our brain changes? It doesn't matter how smart you are, how much willpower you have, how much you want. You could be the smartest, most athletic, most whatever. It doesn't matter when it comes to that disease. And there's nothing to do with being a bad person. Okay. But there's special laws and special protection for people who seek substance treatment because of the horrific stigma that they receive. Special law to protect substance abuse patients so that they can ask for help and not get treated differently, even in 2022. Okay. All right, so mental health prevalence in your community. Let's talk about this. All right. We know that 1 in 5 kids, so I met people that are from the school system in here who work with adolescents and children, or maybe you have some in your home, whatever the circumstance might be, 1 in 5. And only a third of those will receive treatment and actually gain access. So think about that. That's horrible. But it also means that in an average classroom, you're thinking about 5 to 6 kids in a typical average classroom size. 5 to 6 children are dealing with some form of diagnosable mental illness that they could receive improvement and help within. But I don't think all 5 are asking and getting the help. Okay, here's just some more information. Again, this is language and conversation starters for you to have when people want to talk about mental health. This is the stuff I want you to be thinking about. We have a high prevalence of depression, high prevalence of attention deficit, common diagnoses suffer from anxiety in adolescents. So you guys, we're talking about it starts young. And if I'm going to talk about a lot of things at the end, but there are lots of programs that are completely for free that will blow your mind when it comes to just understanding and having the knowledge of this conversation. And just if this is something that you want to dive deep and learn as much as you possibly can, we'll talk about a couple of those programs, okay? So the average onset is 17 years old. And all this stat comes from Youth Mental Health First Aid, in case you're curious, okay? All right. Here's some more. Over 48,000 Americans died by suicide in 2022. Ooh. This is 132 a day. 10th leading overall cause of death. 2nd leading cause in kids and adolescents. I want that to sink in. And you might have heard this stat before. I don't know. Number 2 only to motor vehicle accidents. Number 2. So kids are taking their life prematurely, 2nd leading cause, because they didn't get connected to the professional help early enough. And I'm not saying that we can rid 100% of suicide. I wish, but I don't know if that's ever going to be a realistic expectation. But we can certainly do better than a 2nd leading cause. Okay? And so rural areas have slightly higher suicide rates due to lack of access. And also what we know that is, if you know, and I think, Josh, I think you were telling me that even someone in this community took their life not too long ago. Yes? Okay. So what we know is that those that take their own life those that are close to them, family members, or those that would consider them a hero or someone that they look up to, that person is now 7 times more likely to take their life. So that's why we see suicide happening in clusters, in communities, in pockets of sort of groups of areas, is because if I know you or I looked up to you, I'm now 7 times more likely to consider that as an option. Because if you thought it was an option, maybe I can too. So that's why it's critical for these conversations, but critical that we get these kids and get these adolescents connected quick and early and strong so that they can begin to process and talk about what's happening in their lives, okay? Okay, so what I want to talk about next is what to look for. How do I know if something is something to red flag or if it's just typical natural teen, adolescent, young adult behavior, okay? Now, I'm not teaching you how to be therapists tonight. I don't want you to feel like you got to walk out and memorize all this, but I do want to kind of just throw up some things to think about, and what we're looking for are clusters or multiples of some of the things that we talk about, okay? So let's look at the first one. Okay, you can go again. Okay, so when we talk about general emerging mental health signs and symptoms, this is what we're talking about, you guys. Are they withdrawing from things that they prior to found support and found enjoyable? Are they kind of withdrawing to their room more than they did in the past? Too much or too little sleep? Are they complaining of physical problems like headaches and back pains and things that just didn't exist maybe months before or even last year? Are they gaining or losing substantial weight? And are they starting to do things to hurt themselves? Most of our teens aren't going to come up to you and tell you and show you that I've done something to harm myself. But if they start talking about it or friends start getting wind, I am so hopeful that online tonight we have a lot of teens and a lot of young adults who are listening to this, because this is critical stuff to look for. Okay, so the biggie, MDD, major depression. This is probably the most common and prevalent, especially in sort of the professional mental health world. But these are the things to look for. Are they irritable, sad, depressed? Again, that weight gain. Are they struggling to sleep? Are they talking about feeling hopeless? Are they saying statements like, it will never get better? I will always feel this. They will never. Those types of absolute sort of hard and fast concrete statements. Listen to those kinds of things, and that's what we want to pay attention to, okay? So as we go through these symptoms, I want you to be thinking about not only myself, but the people that I support and love and have around me. Are these symptoms and signs that I need to be paying attention to? Okay. All right, ADHD. This is another biggie, especially in our school systems, amongst a lot of our elementaries, but now even in middle and high, even more so. Okay, it's the most common that we see. Doesn't mean it's true, it just means it's the most diagnosed, okay? Are they falling or struggling to have close attention to detail, careless mistakes, doesn't follow through, reluctant to engage, forgetful, those types of things? If this in clusters, not just one, but many added together, if that is something that you're seeing in someone around you, pay attention. That is enough reason to say, you know what, Johnny, I think maybe it'd be a good idea to have you just talk to the school counselor or talk to your pastor or talk to someone in your life that can dig a little deeper and connect you up with the next best opportunity, okay? All right, disruptive mood regulation and or bipolar. Okay, so there's lots of different types of bipolar, but this is the thing that we're looking for. Are there true mood swings? Are you completely different on Monday than you are from Tuesday? Are you completely different from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.? Are you totally different with your mood and just your presentation from day to day or sometimes week to week, depending on how quickly you cycle and how quickly you change? If you experience that either personally or with people around you, pay attention to that kind of stuff. Do they have inflated self-esteem, so I can conquer the world? And then next week, nobody loves me. I'm a horrible person. Why would you ever spend time with me? Big swings, big ups and downs. Lots of depression, and sometimes it can last days, if sometimes not weeks, okay? So I have someone in my close personal circle who deals with this. And so there are days, sometimes weeks, where they're excited and energetic, and I'm going to do everything that I want to do. And then every personal, open moment, they just want to sleep. And so it's helping balance and helping keep the highs and the lows from being so drastic. Maybe we can bring those down to a more middle balance, because we all need rest, right? We all have excitement times, but it's making sure that those huge ups and downs aren't quite so drastic, okay? Okay. All right, another one is OCD. And some of us joke about this, right? Oh, I'm OCD, I'm so organized. I love everything where it goes. And we say it like it's a joke, but to someone who actually deals with this, it is all-consuming. I can't get through my morning unless certain things are certain places and certain things are certain ways. And so that's where the impairment comes in. But paying attention to this stuff. Is there persistent thoughts and images that keep taking away my attention? Am I repetitive with my behavior to the point where I'm late to things, or to the point where I can't get from point A to point B without stopping 7 times to think about something else? It's the constant ruminating idea and thought about various different things. And it interferes with my daily living. That's the part that I pay attention to. Because we all like to be organized to some extent. We all like things certain ways and certain, like, I was putting pens out earlier and I didn't want them all going a different direction. But, you know, it's little stuff like that that we all appreciate. But if it impairs my ability to get through the day, that's when I need to potentially talk to somebody who can help me through that. Okay, PTSD. We're not all veterans. We all haven't been to active duty and active war. It doesn't mean that you can't be susceptible to PTSD. I can watch a movie, you guys. I can observe a car accident that I'm not even involved in. I can see something in front of me and still have post-traumatic. So I want us to take away the stigma that I have to be through this horrific, horrible, big event in order to be designated as potentially having post-traumatic. It can be something that I'm watching every evening in my home. It can be something that I watched last year and I just can't get over it. Okay, so here's some things to look for. Can happen at any age, of course, but is it intrusive thinking about the event all the time? My reaction to things are so extreme when before I could handle it and I could talk about it and deal with it. Do I have sleep issues? Am I irritable? Am I hyper aware of the things around me all the time because I don't want it to happen again? These are the types of symptoms to look for and watch for when someone is potentially dealing with a professional level of PTSD, okay? Eating disorders. Again, we talk about this sometimes in a joking manner. I had a friend a couple years ago who made a comment, you know, like, if I could just get a couple of, you know, like tapeworms or a couple of like bugs in my stomach and, you know, have a couple illnesses, I'd lose another 10 pounds and then I'd be good. And so we joke and we kind of say things, but those around us, if food is a trigger or if food is an area that you struggle in with obsession or with image or any of those types of things, here's what I look for. Do I refuse to eat? Do I have amenorrhea or, I can't think of the word right now. What'd you say? Yes, and I can't think of the word right now. Like when you're iron deficient. Anemic, thank you. Okay. Okay. The biggies and the obviouses are I don't ever eat, or I binge, or I purge, or I excuse myself from the table every meal and I don't come back for 20 minutes. Those are things to pay attention to. Am I disturbed with my image? Do I constantly obsess about my weight? Only eating certain types? And do I have inflated, what we call them chipmunk cheeks, but do I have inflated sort of facial, which is a sign and symptom of someone who may be dealing with this, okay? You don't have to be a professional counselor or a professionally trained adult to be able to know all this stuff. You just have to know to pay attention to things that are off or different and connect it to someone who can, okay? Okay, spectrum. This is kind of an emerging diagnosis that a lot of professionals, even in the field that I come from, we struggle, right? There's so many nuances and specialties to this diagnosis, but pay attention to things such as, do they struggle to socially interact? Is there dysfunction with facial expressions and sort of appropriate reaction to settings and situations? Is there repetitive patterns of behavior, lack of make-believe play, and preoccupation with objects and things like that in front of them? I work in a youth group, and we have somebody in our youth group who has spectrum disorder. And every week, I've known this kid for over 2 years, and every week it's like meeting him for the first time. There is no connection. There is no personal love loss. There's no animation or affect when I see this kid. But every week, we present like we love him, like we care about him, that we support him, and that we're there for him. But the response that we get is like if we were a brand new stranger. So those are some of the signs and symptoms that you can kind of pay attention to and just kind of take a look at with regards to spectrum disorder, okay? Okay, we were asked to talk about bullying tonight, so let's talk about it for a second, okay? Do you notice that the kids or the adolescents are avoiding things that were previously enjoyable? Are they using their cell phones excessively on social media and other groups? Are there unexplainable changes in their friendships or in their relationships? These are things to pay attention to when I'm trying to determine, is this person a victim of or involved in repetitive bullying in their classroom or in their school setting or in their community? Unexplainable injuries. All of a sudden, I can't account for my personal stuff. I don't know where it went. I'm not sure. Declining grades, school performance, and then difficulty sleeping or staying asleep. Now, this is a very short list. There's lots of other things that we could talk about, but if I'm paying attention, if there's more than one or two going on, flag up, connect it to the professional that can dig and just ask a few more questions, okay? If you had someone in your life who had a fever of 100 for more than 3 days, would you just keep pumping them Tylenol, or would you ask someone to look at them that was a professional? But remember, I'm really good at CPR and first aid. Like, I'm your girl. So I'm going to hang on to you for weeks at a time with elevated fever. No way. You'd rip straight to the doctor or the urgent care or whoever could see them first, because you want to find out what's happening and how you can get them help. So when it comes to mental health, it's no different, okay? Okay, so suicidal behavior, what to look for. What to pay attention to when someone may or may not be thinking about ending their life, okay? Are they saying things like, I wish I were dead? I just went out. Things will never change. Why can't I catch a break? Why am I always the one that gets in this kind of situation? Why don't I ever get to make friends? Okay? And I want to teach you something tonight if I can. And I know that we've covered a lot already, but there's a couple things that if you heard nothing, I want you to try to take away with you tonight. People don't commit suicide, because if I commit something, what does that make us think? What else do we commit? People commit crimes. They commit sort of negative connotation, right? So what we're trying to do in the field of mental health is shift our language choice. So I'm hoping that you've heard me say tonight, someone took their life. I don't successfully complete suicide. There's nothing successful about it. I completed it, I attempted it, but I don't commit it, and I don't successfully do anything with it. Does that make sense? We're trying to shift the persona and shift the perception of this deadly number 2 leading cause, okay? So some other things to pay attention to if someone may be suicidal. Are they impulsive? Are they giving away things? Are they preparing? Have they tried in the past? If I have a history of it, I'm more likely to try it again. Huge flags. Even if they've received care and they haven't tried in a year or two, if they have it in their past, that's a flag, okay? Stronger predictors. and you guys can read some of the things up there, currently talking about taking their life or making a plan. We talk to kids every day in the program that I help manage. They think about it every day. But the difference is, do you know how you're going to do it, and do you have means to carry it out? So if you tell me that you're going to, drive off a bridge, but you're 7, I don't think you'll be behind a wheel just yet, right? But we wanted to kind of take a look at those things. I'm not asking you guys to be professional counselors tonight. I'm asking you to pay attention to the signs and connect it to the people that can do something about it, okay? Okay, so what do I do? And can I get a time check? Where are we at? What time is it? Nice. Okay, now what? Okay, guys, you can't keep ignoring it. And I'm looking at all of us, because we wouldn't have a number 2 reason of death and so much prevalence of mental health if we were connecting the people up to the help early and quick, okay? So here's what we can do, all right? Start by holding conversations. So the myth and fact game that I played with you in the beginning, play it with other people. Instead of saying, hey, how's it going? Or, hey, man, I had an awesome weekend. I went to the game and I did this. Instead of asking that, ask, where's your thoughts today? How are you feeling? How would you describe how you are right now? Ask those types of questions to really assess and kind of just get the conversation about mental health going. Be supportive, remain calm. So if someone's escalating, don't go with them. Stay calm and sort of regulated with your demeanor. Allow them to talk. Don't interrupt. I have someone in my life who means so well, but when I'm going, don't stop me. Let me get it out first, and then you can, give me advice and say all the things that you want to say. But when someone's in the moment and they want to share and they're talking about what's going on with them, let them. And don't rush it, right? Okay. Conversations help stop stigma, and they encourage people to ask for help. The reason why people don't ask is all the reasons that you said earlier. I don't know what to call it, I don't know how to say it, and so I just don't. But if someone around me says, you know what, I've noticed a couple things that are kind of different. I just wanted to check in with you and see how things were going. It's as simple as that. We polled a lot of teens, and again, I keep referencing youth mental health first aid, but the number one reason why teens reported that they didn't ask for help is because, guess what? No one asked. That's it. It's just because no one asked me. This program has a spokesperson. His name is Kevin, so some of you may be familiar with him, but he has this amazing story of a suicide attempt. Now he lives, and his whole life's mission is to prevent suicide in others. But he talks about, he jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. That's his story. And he did it, and he said, as soon as I did it, I knew I shouldn't have. But he also said, I had made a pact with myself. As long as someone asks me how I am, how I'm feeling, or what's going on with me, if someone just asks me one of those 3 questions, I won't do it. But no one did. He was crying. He was visibly distressed. No one said a word, and so he jumped. Now, thank you. Thank goodness he is alive, and he's dedicated his life to this. But his story is unfortunately a unique one. It's an exception to a lot of the people that attempt and then unfortunately complete. Okay. So if you broke your leg, would you go to the hospital? Odds are, eventually, right? If you were hungry, would you eat? I mean, why? Why bother? Really, why bother? If you had pneumonia, would you go get medicine? Or would you tough it out? Just be strong enough. Just be hard enough and pick up your bootstraps, right? We say all these things. There is no excuse as to why over half of mental health conditions go untreated. Not one. Okay. All right. Most kids and adolescents who experience will live healthy lives if they receive treatment, okay? Okay, so what do I do? Who do I ask? These are the people that we want you to be thinking about and want you to connect the kids and the adolescents and teens and young adults to. School counselors, parents, supervisors, managers, pastors, those types of things. Because even, and I'm going to use you as an example if I can, you may not be a professionally trained mental health expert, but you know people who are. And so if you trust an adult, go to them, and that trusted adult can get you connected to someone who does have the competence and the expertise to do it. Okay. There's other agencies here in Randolph County, and then of course there's Willowbrook, and that's who I represent today. Okay. So since COVID, we have all kinds of different services that are both in person as well as virtual. So, I was talking to someone earlier who said, look, I found somebody and I don't have to drive a mile down the street. I can just virtually connect with them, and they take care of me. They listen to me and they give me what I need so that I can function and have an awesome day-to-day. Okay, so at Willowbrook, we do free assessments. They are not face-to-face. They don't have to be. They can be if you want to go, but they don't have to be. And so it's a free assessment. All you have to do is say, call this number, and a live master's level professional counselor will talk to the person and identify what it is that they need and connect them up to the thing that helps them. So plastered over everything that I've put on your tables, and I think even online you guys are going to get some material, there's a phone number on your pen, on the things that I handed out, on the pamphlets. This is what we want you to give and to connect people up to if they say, I don't even know where to start. Boom. Call this number, ask for a free assessment, and get someone to listen to you and help you so that you can get connected to what you need, okay? I'm a mom, and there are some days where I think my child is on the deathbed when really all they need is some Tylenol and some sleep, okay? So I may not be the best judge and, sort of understand of what the situation is. So let someone who is trained and who does know assess and kind of figure out what the person might need, all right? We have a mom, literally last week, bring their child into our building and said, he needs residential. I need you to take him, I need you to fix him, and bring him back in 6 months, and then he can live back in my home. Okay, well, Mom, I can't do that today, but what I can do is have your kid assessed to figure out what they need. And turns out they didn't need to go away. They just needed some counseling and a little bit of intervention to help them kind of figure out some of the things going on in their life. So the professional is the one that we need to always tap, okay? All right, so there's the number. It's plastered on all the things. You guys can see it online. And this is the idea, is that it's free. There's no money. No, you don't have to have insurance. You don't have anything. All you need is a phone. Borrow somebody if you don't have a phone. But call the number and ask for the free assessment, and that is what we give to people who don't know where to start, okay? Another number that you can give if someone doesn't want to talk to anybody. I'm good. I'd just rather text. They can text pound 988, and that is a 24/7 free support, and a live person will answer, or text back and forth with them, They'll text back and forth with them, and they'll engage in a dialogue. On the other end of that is a professional counselor who will be able to determine how to best intervene and respond, okay? Good, bad, right, or wrong, there's a lot of people that just don't want to talk, but I will text you all night long. And so this is a cool resource for someone in that. Okay. And then here's some networking in Alabama that you may or may not know, okay? There's a lot of sort of work at the public and the private level. There's also statewide suicide prevention efforts happening. QPR, that is another training that I want to encourage you. It is a suicide prevention training. A lot of school systems adopt this. A lot of agencies adopt this program. But it's teaching lay community members how to read the signs and symptoms of someone who may be suicidal. Okay, great. So we even have some people in the room that have done it. So youth mental health first aid, QPR. Those are two excellent, nationally recognized, very valid, very proven, evidence-based interventions, okay? And there's a lot of state suicide prevention work happening at the state level, at the board level. Okay. Okay. So if you engage and talk, you're already planting a seed to help someone know that it's okay to ask, it's okay to go there, it's okay to admit. We said in this room and hopefully online, literally over 99% of us either have personally or known someone close to us that has dealt with mental health. We're not immune. There's not a person in here who hasn't experienced it. So let's just say that. Let's just admit we all have mental health, right? Okay. Okay. So are there questions or just thoughts or just anything that you guys want to say? Okay, so thank you for your word choice. I heard what you said. I appreciate that. Thank you. So this is what we know. This is what we know. There's a higher prevalence of female attempts, but males are higher likelihood of completing suicide because males will attempt suicide with way more lethal means. They will do things to take their life that are pretty absolute in the outcome. So females attempt at a higher rate, but males are more likely to complete at a higher rate. So some of those stat screens that we showed, it's that middle teen to young adult time frame that we see that happening the most. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, sure, that can be true of a lot of people, but you're asking me what's sort of the highest age range or the most prevalent age range, and so that's what I'm kind of sharing. But certainly, kids way younger than, mid-teens, mid-high school can attempt and certainly complete. Yeah. That's why, again, we're talking about mental health tonight, but the physical is no less important, right? And so if there are changes or impairments to any part of a young person, take them to a professional to rule out whatever's going on. So whether it's hormonal, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical, whether it's anemia, whatever. Get the professional to observe and to assess to make sure that we're ruling out anything significant. Yeah. 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 Well, it certainly hasn't helped. Yeah, and I certainly don't want to speak to statistics or anything like that, but what we know is that it has significantly impacted relationships and significantly impacted people's willingness to speak up and to dialogue about what's going on with them. Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. So what, and I'm thankful that you asked that question. What I'm sharing with you is that the free assessment assesses, screens, and tells the person, here's what's going on with you, and here's things that you could benefit from. And so they'll take a look at whatever financial situation you're in, whether you have coverage or not, and they will help find you resources in whatever area you call from and help you connect you up with a resource that you can afford, whatever that might be. Yeah, so the assessment is free, not the treatment. Yeah. 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 It can be, but sometimes it's not. And so people have to really be careful about what they elect and what they ask for, because if they just assume, sometimes it's not a benefit. And so, yeah, so this free assessment with this master's level counselor, it walks them through and talks to them about that. Okay, you may have an amazing medical plan, but you didn't elect the mental health services that you need. And so they work with them about that, and they talk to them about the language to ask for and the things to be able to kind of bring up with their insurance provider so that they can get what they need. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Employers, big entities, organizations, factories, those types of things are starting to pay attention to mental health, and giving, free sessions and things. Yes, ma'am. Mm. Yeah. 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 Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Yes, and I think that, Josh mentioned Willowbrook is located just across the Georgia line, but we're actually in 9 school systems now. I can't show you 9, but, and so we actually hire therapists who do their work on the school campus to be able to do exactly what you're talking about. I do think that the school is going to become the hub for a lot of medical intervention because it's a captured audience. And, we know that the kids will go to school and it's a safe place. So, some of you guys may have seen, dental trucks or some of the other services that are mobile. And I don't think counseling will be any different. Mm-mm. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm hoping that we see it on a much larger scale so that every school has a identified therapist or every, district has at least a handful. Yeah. 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 I mean, parents can't take off work or transportation is a struggle. So let's get them while we can and get them in a safe and yeah. Mm. Yeah. 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 Well, I wish that we could force parents to take their children to, other discipline, other medical offices, but yeah. Yes, ma'am. And I think we have to kind of wrap up in just a minute. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if someone claims I had an addiction issue, but now things are fine, I just ask them, how do you know? What's evidence that says everything's good to go? And what'd you do before to get to where you are now? And are you doing that on a regular basis? Because what we know about addiction and mental health, I mean, not a one of us is immune to this. If I don't take care of my mental health, it goes to crap. If I don't self-care and take care of me, something's going to get off balance. They can, sure, sure. You're looking for just impairment. You're looking for how does it impact their day-to-day. And if it prevents them from, working or relationshiping or those types of things on a healthy level, yeah. We go to the dentist twice a year. Why? Not because you have a toothache, but because you want to maintain and sustain and, prevent. And that's exactly what we want to try to do with mental health. Yeah. 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 Okay, so hopefully you got some language, you got some conversation, you got some things to talk about and to bring up. Hopefully you're taking some goodies. Sorry if you're online, I can't get it to you. But I'll be here if you guys want to ask individual questions or personal questions before you leave. But just thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Deborah. That was great. It was so inspiring, and we hope everybody can handle their, if you know someone or if you have problems, that you'll seek help. A few thank yous. Thank you to Josh and the Roanoke First United Methodist Church for allowing us to be here tonight. It's always great to be able to have events here. This is kind of the hub of the Chamber's events that we do in Roanoke. Some upcoming things. Next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, we'll be doing the Wedowee Mental Health and Suicide Awareness at 6 o'clock at the Randolph County High School, and Nathan Popham will be our speaker that night. On September the 10th is our 14th annual Fall on Main concert downtown at the Main Street Theater at 6:30. Wild Nights will be playing. And then October the 1st is our biggest event of the year. It's our 14th annual Fall on Main Street Festival. Starts from 8:30, from 8:30 to 1:30. Going to be a great event. It's looking like we may have about 200 vendors this year, so it's going to be the largest one we've ever had. So come on down and join us, and we hope everybody has a great night, and we all work on our mental health. Thank you for coming.